Have you ever noticed you don't feel like the same person in every moment? The version of you that speaks confidently is not the same version that lies awake at night. Neuroscience suggests this is not a flaw, it is a feature. Your brain is constantly creating multiple versions of you, quietly, automatically, and without you noticing. Tonight, we'll explore why your mind does this and how these invisible versions shape your life. You are not a single self. There is a story we tell ourselves, a story that feels true, the story that we are one consistent person, one identity, one self. But if you pause and look closely at your own experience, you might notice something strange. The person you are at work is not quite the same person you are at home. The you that laughs with friends feels different from the you that sits alone in silence. The you that makes decisions in the morning sometimes disagrees with the you that reflects at night. This isn't confusion. This isn't weakness. This is how your brain actually works. For centuries, we believed in the myth of a fixed personality, a solid core, a true self that remains unchanged beneath the surface. Philosophers debated it, religions taught it, society expected it. We were told to be yourself, as if there were only one self to be. We were told to stay true to who you are, as if identity were a fixed point rather than a flowing river. But modern neuroscience reveals something far more interesting. Your brain doesn't store one personality, it stores many patterns. Think about it this way. When you walk into your workplace, something shifts, your posture changes, your tone of voice adjusts. The thoughts that come to mind are different from the thoughts you have at home. This happens automatically, without effort, without conscious choice. Your brain is activating a specific network, a specific mode, a version of you designed for that context. And when you leave work, when you step through your front door, another shift occurs. Another network activates, another version emerges. This is not pretending. This is not being fake. This is your brain doing what it was designed to do. It creates different versions of you for different situations. Each version has its own way of thinking, its own emotional tone, its own priorities. The version of you that handles stress at work has different strategies than the version that comforts a friend. The version that solves problems thinks differently than the version that creates art. And the version that falls asleep is not the same as the version that wakes up. Your brain switches between these versions smoothly, so smoothly you rarely notice it happening. But it is happening all day, every day. And this multiplicity, this flexibility is not a bug in the system, it is the system. Because a single fixed self would not survive in a changing world. Imagine if you could only ever be serious. You could never laugh, never play, never relax. Or imagine if you could only ever be playful. You could never focus, never work, never discipline yourself. A brain that could only be one way would struggle to adapt. But a brain that can shift, that can become, that can create temporary versions of you for temporary needs, that brain thrives. So when you feel different in different moments, you are not losing yourself. You are not broken. You are experiencing the natural function of a healthy, adaptive mind. Think about how you are with your closest friend, how easily you laugh, how openly you share, how naturally the words flow. Now think about how you are in a job interview, more careful with your words, more aware of your posture, more strategic in what you reveal. These are both you, genuinely you, but they are different versions. Different neural patterns, different activations, different ways of being. And your brain knows exactly which version to activate based on the context. When you see your childhood friend, your brain might activate a version of you that hasn't appeared in years. Suddenly, you're using phrases you haven't used in decades, laughing at jokes that wouldn't be funny in any other context, remembering stories you'd completely forgotten. This isn't nostalgia. This is your brain reactivating an old version of you. A version that was built in that relationship, that exists in that context, that comes alive when the right triggers appear. And when you say goodbye, when you return to your normal life, that version fades again. Not gone, just dormant, waiting. Your brain contains all these versions, layers upon layers, patterns upon patterns. Some you use every day, some only in specific situations, some you haven't accessed in years. But they're all there, all part of the vast library of selves that make you who you are. And the beautiful thing is, you can access them. When you need confidence, you can call up the version of you that has felt confident before. When you need calm, you can activate the version of you that has found peace. When you need creativity, you can tap into the version of you that has created before. These aren't separate people. They're not multiple personalities. They're multiple patterns. Multiple ways your brain has learned to organize itself. Multiple strategies for being alive. And the more you understand this, the more freedom you have. Because you're not stuck being one thing. You're not limited to one way of thinking, one way of feeling, one way of being. You have options, choices, possibilities. Your brain has already created them, already stored them, already made them available to you. You just need to recognize them, appreciate them, work with them. This is what it means to be human, to be complex, to be many things at once. Not fractured, not confused, complete. The brain as a simulator. Now let's go deeper. Let's explore what your brain is actually doing beneath your awareness. Your brain is not just responding to the present moment. It is constantly simulating the future. Right now, as you listen to these words, part of your brain is running predictions, imagining what comes next, testing possibilities. This happens automatically, constantly, without you noticing. Neuroscientists call this mental simulation, and it is one of the most powerful things your brain does. Every moment of every day, your brain is generating possible futures. Not just one future, many futures. Different versions of what might happen, different outcomes, different possibilities. And in each of these simulated futures, there is a version of you. When you think about tomorrow, your brain creates a version of you in that imagined tomorrow. When you wonder how a conversation might go, your brain generates a version of you having that conversation. When you plan, when you worry, when you hope, your brain is building temporary selves and placing them in imagined futures. These are not just thoughts. They are full simulations, with emotions, with sensations, with reactions. Your brain is testing the future by creating future versions of you. This is why daydreaming is not a waste of time. It is mental rehearsal. Your brain is preparing you for situations that haven't happened yet. Every time you imagine a scenario, you are training a potential version of yourself. Think about a time you rehearsed a difficult conversation in your mind. You imagined what you would say, how the other person might respond, what you would feel. In that moment, your brain created a temporary you, a simulated self, living through a simulated experience. And when the real conversation happened, you were more prepared, because your brain had already lived through versions of it. This is not overthinking. This is not anxiety. This is your brain's prediction engine doing what it was designed to do. It creates versions of you to test the future, so the real you can navigate it better. But here's what's fascinating. These simulated versions feel real while you're imagining them. When you imagine being confident, you feel a version of confidence. When you imagine being afraid, you feel a version of fear. Your brain doesn't just think about these futures, it experiences them through temporary versions of you. And each imagined future creates a temporary version of you. Some of these versions fade quickly, forgotten moments of mental simulation. But others linger. They shape your expectations. They influence your choices. They become part of how you see yourself. Because your brain learns from these simulations, just as it learns from real experiences. A version of you that imagines success trains your brain for confidence. A version of you that imagines failure trains your brain for caution. Both are useful, both serve a purpose, Both are your brain preparing you. So when your mind wanders, when you drift into imagination, know that your brain is working, creating, simulating, building versions of you for worlds that haven't happened yet. Consider how this works throughout your day. You wake up, and immediately your brain starts simulating. What will the day hold? What challenges might appear? What conversations might happen? Your brain creates versions of you, navigating each possibility. The version that handles conflict well, the version that stays calm under pressure, the version that might struggle or stumble. All of these simulations happen in seconds, flickering through your mind like previews of coming attractions. And based on these simulations, your brain prepares you. It primes certain responses. It activates certain emotions. It readies certain versions of you. This is why you might feel anxious before an event. Your brain has been simulating challenging versions of that event. Or why you might feel excited. Your brain has been simulating positive versions. The simulations shape your emotional state before anything has actually happened. Your brain is so powerful at simulation that it can create emotions in response to imagined events. Events that might never occur, futures that might never arrive. But the emotions are real. The versions of you experiencing those simulations are real. And this is where things get interesting. Because if your brain is constantly creating versions of you in imagined futures, then, in a sense, you exist in multiple timelines simultaneously. There is the you that exists right now, in this present moment. And there are countless versions of you existing in imagined futures, in simulated moments. Some of these futures will happen, some won't. But all of them feel real, while your brain is simulating them. This is why worry can feel so consuming. Your brain is creating versions of you, experiencing negative futures, and those experiences feel genuine. This is why hope can feel so energizing. Your brain is creating versions of you, experiencing positive futures, and that hope activates real motivation. Your simulated selves influence your real self. The futures you imagine shape the present you live. And understanding this gives you tremendous power. Because you can choose what you simulate. You can direct your brain's prediction engine. You can practice imagining versions of you that are capable, confident, calm. You can rehearse positive outcomes. You can train your brain to expect success. Not through denial, not through ignoring reality, but through deliberately simulating versions of you that you want to become. Athletes do this. They visualize successful performances. They imagine their bodies moving perfectly. They simulate winning. And their brains learn from these simulations. Their bodies respond. Their performance improves. You can do the same thing with any area of your life. Imagine the version of you that handles stress well. Simulate that version. Feel what it feels like to be calm in chaos. Imagine the version of you that speaks confidently. Simulate that version. Hear your voice steady and clear. Imagine the version of you that is kind to yourself. Simulate that version. Feel what self-compassion feels like. Your brain will learn from these simulations, just as it learns from real experiences. And slowly, these simulated versions become more accessible, more natural, more you. This is not positive thinking. This is not wishful fantasy. This is working with your brain's natural simulation process to create the versions of you that will serve you best. So when your mind wanders into the future, pay attention. Notice what you're simulating. Notice which versions of you are appearing in your imagined futures. Are they capable versions or struggling versions? Are they confident versions or fearful versions? Both are valuable. Both serve a purpose. But you have a choice about which simulations you rehearse most often. And that choice shapes who you become. Because the versions of you that you practice in simulation become the versions of you that appear in reality. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. Both create neural patterns, both teach your brain, both shape your future. So simulate wisely. Simulate often. Simulate the versions of you that you want to meet in your future. Memory creates past versions of you. Now let's turn backward. Let's explore how your brain creates versions of you from the past. You might think memory works like a recording, a video you can replay, a file stored somewhere in your brain. But that's not how it works, not even close. Every time you remember something, your brain reconstructs it, rebuilds it from fragments. Memory is not replay. Memory is reconstruction. And here's what that means. The you who remembers is not the you who lived it. Think about a memory from your childhood, a birthday, a summer day, a moment with a friend. When you recall that memory, you are not accessing the original experience. You are creating a new version of it. And you are creating a new version of the person who experienced it, a past version of you. But that past version is filtered through who you are now. Your current emotions, your current knowledge, your current perspective. All of it colors the memory, shapes it, changes it. So the child you remember being is not exactly the child you were. It is a reconstruction, a version created by your present mind. This is why old memories feel distant, like they happened to someone else. Because in a way, they did. The you who lived that moment no longer exists. That version of you is gone. What remains is a memory, a story, a reconstruction. And every time you recall it, you create that past version of you again, slightly different each time. Memory is not static, it is alive, changing, adapting. Each time you remember an event, you are not just recalling it, you are re-experiencing it, through a version of you that exists only in that moment of remembering. This is why two people can remember the same event differently. They are each reconstructing it, each creating their own version of the past. And this is why your own memories change over time, not because they were false, but because you are different. The you at 20 remembers differently than the you at 40. The you who is happy remembers differently than the you who is sad. Your emotional state, your beliefs, your current identity, all of it shapes which details you notice, which feelings you emphasize, which meaning you create. So when you look back at your life, you are not seeing a fixed history. You are seeing a reconstructed story, told by the version of you that exists right now. And tomorrow, if you remember the same moment, you might reconstruct it differently. Because you will be a different version of you. This is not a flaw. This is how memory serves you. It doesn't preserve the past perfectly. It adapts the past to help you navigate the present. Every remembered self is a tool, a guide, a lesson. Your brain creates these past versions of you, not to record history, but to inform your future. Think about a difficult experience from your past, something painful, something you've thought about many times. The first time you remembered it, perhaps immediately after it happened, the memory was raw, intense, overwhelming. The version of you in that memory was suffering, confused, lost. But if you remember that same event now, years later, the memory might feel different. The pain might be softer, the perspective might be wider, the meaning might have changed. The version of you in that memory might now seem stronger than you realized at the time, more resilient, more capable. This is not because the event changed. The event is long past. This is because you changed, and your memory reconstructed the past to reflect the present you. The past version of you is created by the present version of you. And this process happens every time you remember. Your brain is constantly updating your personal history, rewriting your autobiography, recreating the versions of you that existed before. Sometimes this is beautiful. A painful memory becomes a story of growth. A failure becomes a lesson. A loss becomes a source of strength. Sometimes this is challenging. A happy memory becomes bittersweet. A simple moment becomes complicated. An innocent time becomes shadowed. But always, the memory is in service of the present you. Your brain reconstructs the past to help you understand yourself now, to make sense of how you got here, to explain why you are the way you are, to give your life continuity and meaning. Without this reconstruction, you would be lost, disconnected from your own history, unable to learn from experience. But with it, you have a story, an identity, a sense of self that stretches across time. Even though that self is constantly being recreated, reimagined, rebuilt. Think about how this works with significant memories, turning points in your life. The day you graduated, the moment you fell in love, the time you made a big decision. These memories are not snapshots, they are stories you tell yourself. And each time you tell the story, it changes slightly. You emphasize different details, you notice different emotions, you draw different conclusions. The version of you in that memory evolves, sometimes becoming wiser, sometimes becoming more naive, sometimes becoming more confident, sometimes more uncertain. But always reflecting, the version of you that is doing the remembering. This is why family members can have such different memories of the same childhood. They're not lying, they're not confused. They're each reconstructing the past from their own perspective, creating their own versions of themselves and each other. And this is why returning to a childhood home can feel so strange. The place might be the same, but the version of you that lived there no longer exists. You can remember that version. You can recreate them in your mind. But you cannot become them again. Because memory is not a time machine. It's a creative act. Every time you remember, you are creating, imagining, reconstructing, building versions of your past self that make sense to your present self. And in doing so, you are weaving the story of your life. A story that is both true and fictional, both real and imagined, both fixed and fluid. Your life is the story you tell yourself about your life. And the versions of you in that story are characters you create, based on fragments of experience, colored by current emotion, shaped by present need. This is not dishonesty. This is how human memory works. And understanding this can bring great freedom. Because if the past is constantly being reconstructed, then you have some power over how you remember. You can choose which details to emphasize, which meanings to draw, which versions of your past self to create. Not by denying what happened, not by rewriting history, but by recognizing that the past you remember is not the past itself. It is a version of the past, created by the present you, for the present you. And you can create versions that serve you. Versions that recognize your strength, versions that see your growth, versions that honor your journey. The you that you remember being can become a source of wisdom rather than shame, a source of compassion rather than judgment, a source of inspiration rather than regret. Because that past you is being created right now, in this moment, by the you that you are. And you have a choice in how you create them. Emotional selves. Let's explore something you know, but rarely name. You have an angry self, a calm self, a joyful self, a fearful self. These are not moods, they are versions of you. Each emotion activates a different version of your identity. When you feel afraid, you don't just experience fear. You become a version of you that is organized around fear. Your thoughts change, your priorities shift, your body responds, your perception narrows. The fearful you sees threats everywhere, interprets ambiguity as danger, prepares to flee or fight. This version of you has its own logic, its own intelligence, its own way of being. And when the fear passes, that version fades. Another version emerges. Perhaps the calm you, the one that breathes deeply, that sees clearly, that thinks in longer timelines. This version has different thoughts, different priorities, different strategies. And neither version is wrong. Both are real, both are you. Your brain creates emotional selves because different situations require different responses. The confident you is useful when speaking in public, when taking risks, when asserting boundaries. The cautious you is useful when evaluating danger, when protecting yourself, when slowing down. The compassionate you is useful when caring for others, when listening deeply, when offering comfort. Each emotional self is a specialized version, designed for a specific purpose, and your brain switches between them based on what the moment requires. This is why you might feel like a different person when you're anxious versus when you're relaxed. Because you are, temporarily. Your brain has activated a different network, a different pattern, a different version of you. And this version has its own voice. The anxious you speaks in worries, in what-ifs, in warnings. The confident you speaks in possibilities, in certainties, in affirmations. The sad you speaks in losses, in absences, in longing. Each voice is real, each voice is yours. And understanding this can bring tremendous relief. Because when you're struggling with difficult emotions, you can recognize this is not all of me. This is one version, one part. The fearful you is not the whole you. It is a temporary activation, a pattern that will shift. And knowing this gives you space, perspective, freedom. You are not trapped in any single emotional self. You are the space that holds them all. The brain that creates them, the awareness that witnesses them, the capacity that contains them. And each emotional version is trying to help you, trying to protect you, trying to guide you. Even the painful ones, even the difficult ones. Fear is trying to keep you safe. Anger is trying to defend your boundaries. Sadness is trying to process loss. Each emotion creates a version of you with a specific job to do. And when that job is done, the version fades. The emotion passes. Another version emerges. This is the natural rhythm of a healthy mind, flowing between emotional selves, never stuck, always moving. Let's explore each emotional self more deeply. The angry you. This version appears when boundaries are crossed, when values are violated, when something feels unjust. The angry you has energy, force, clarity about what is unacceptable. This version doesn't doubt, doesn't hesitate, doesn't apologize for taking up space. The angry you knows what it wants and demands it. This version can be uncomfortable, especially if you were taught that anger is bad, that nice people don't get angry. But anger is not bad. Anger is information. It tells you something matters, something needs to change, something requires your attention and action. The angry you is a protector, a defender, a boundary setter. And when this version appears, it deserves respect, even if the expression needs refinement. Now consider the sad you. This version appears when loss occurs, when something ends, when grief needs space. The sad you moves slowly, thinks quietly, feels deeply. This version doesn't want solutions, doesn't want to be fixed, doesn't want to be cheered up. The sad you wants to be with the loss, to honor what was, to feel the full weight of what's gone. This version can be frightening, especially in a culture that demands happiness, that treats sadness as a problem to solve. But sadness is not a problem. Sadness is a response. It tells you something mattered, something was valuable, something meant enough to hurt when it ended. The sad you is a witness, a mourner, a keeper of what was precious. And when this version appears, it deserves space, time, permission to feel. Now the anxious you. This version appears when the future feels uncertain, when danger might be lurking, when control seems impossible. The anxious you scans constantly, plans excessively, imagines worst-case scenarios. This version doesn't rest, doesn't trust, doesn't believe in safety. The anxious you is always preparing, always protecting, always one step ahead of disaster. This version can be exhausting, especially when it appears too often, when it takes over your life. But anxiety is not weakness. Anxiety is vigilance. It tells you to be careful, to think ahead, to prepare for challenges. The anxious you is a planner, a protector, a survivor. And when this version appears, it deserves acknowledgement, even if it needs soothing. And now the joyful you. This version appears when life feels expansive, when pleasure arrives, when delight surprises you. The joyful you laughs easily, moves freely, connects openly. This version doesn't worry about the future, doesn't regret the past, doesn't analyze the present. The joyful you simply experiences, enjoys, celebrates. This version can feel vulnerable, especially if you've been hurt before, if happiness has been followed by pain. But joy is not naive. Joy is vitality. It tells you life is worth living, that beauty exists, that pleasure is possible. The joyful you is a celebrator, a connector, a reminder of what's good. And when this version appears, it deserves full expression, full embodiment, full permission. Each emotional self has value, each serves a purpose, each belongs to you. And the healthiest relationship you can have with these versions is acceptance. Not trying to be one thing all the time, not judging some versions as good and others as bad, but recognizing you are the full spectrum. You are anger and calm, fear and courage, sadness and joy. You are all of it, all at once, flowing between states as life requires. This is not instability. This is responsiveness. This is not dysfunction. This is being alive. And when you can hold all these versions with compassion, when you can welcome each emotional self as it appears, something remarkable happens. You become more integrated, more whole, more free. Because you're not at war with yourself anymore. You're not trying to eliminate parts of yourself, or suppress emotions, or be someone you're not. You're simply allowing the natural flow of human experience. The ebb and flow of emotional selves, each arising when needed, each fading when complete. This is wisdom, this is maturity, this is peace. The default mode network. There is a part of your brain that activates when you're doing nothing. When you're not focused on a task, when you're not paying attention to the outside world, when you're simply resting. Neuroscientists call this the default mode network. And it is one of the most fascinating parts of your brain. Because this is where your sense of self lives, where your identity forms, where the multiple versions of you come into awareness. When you lie awake at night, thinking about who you are, the default mode network is active. When you daydream during a long drive, the default mode network is active. When you reflect on your past, or imagine your future, or wonder about your purpose, the default mode network is active. This network is not idle, it is working, constantly, quietly. It is constructing your sense of self, your narrative, your story of who you are. And here's what's remarkable. This network doesn't create one unified self. It creates multiple perspectives, multiple versions. When you're alone with your thoughts, you might notice different voices, different perspectives, different parts of you in conversation. One part questions, another part answers, one part doubts, another part reassures. This is not confusion. This is the default mode network doing what it does. It is simulating different versions of you, different perspectives, different possibilities. And this is why nighttime can feel so strange, so different from daytime. During the day, when you're busy, when you're focused on tasks, other brain networks take over. The task-positive network, the attention network, the action network. These networks create the doing you, the working you, the focused you. But at night, when the world is quiet, when there's nothing to do, the default mode network takes over. And suddenly, all the other versions emerge. The worrying you, the reflecting you, the questioning you, the imagining you. These versions have been there all along, but during the day they were quiet, in the background. At night, they come forward. And this is why sleep is so important, because the default mode network processes everything. It integrates your experiences. It updates your sense of self. It creates meaning from the chaos of daily life. When you dream, the default mode network is highly active, creating stories, simulating scenarios, processing emotions. And through this process, your brain reorganizes itself, updates itself, creates new versions of you. So when you wake up feeling different, it's because you are different. Your brain has spent the night simulating, processing, creating. And a new version of you has emerged. The default mode network is the architect of your inner world, the creator of your multiple selves. And understanding this can help you make peace with the nighttime mind. Because those racing thoughts, those endless questions, those imagined scenarios are not problems. They are your brain doing its job, creating, simulating, preparing, building versions of you for the life you're living. Let's explore how this network actually functions. The default mode network connects different regions of your brain, regions involved in memory, regions involved in imagination, regions involved in social understanding. All of these regions communicate with each other when you're not focused on external tasks. And through this communication, your brain constructs narratives. Stories about who you are, where you came from, where you're going. Stories about your relationships, your choices, your meaning. The default mode network is a storyteller, and you are the main character. But here's the fascinating part. The default mode network tells multiple stories. Not just one coherent narrative, multiple perspectives, multiple interpretations, multiple versions of events. This is why you might remember a situation one way in the morning and another way at night. Your default mode network has reconstructed the story, emphasized different details, created a different narrative. And both versions are real. Both are your brain trying to make sense of experience. The default mode network is also where self-reflection happens. When you think about yourself, when you evaluate your choices, when you judge your behavior. All of this happens in the default mode network. And this is where the multiple versions become most apparent. Because when you reflect on yourself, you're creating a subject and an object. There's the you that is reflecting, and the you that is being reflected upon. Two versions in dialogue. The observer and the observed. And sometimes there are more than two. Sometimes there's the you that acted, the you that judges, the you that defends, the you that regrets. All of these versions appearing in internal conversation. This is not pathological. This is normal. This is how self-reflection works. The default mode network creates multiple perspectives, so you can see yourself from different angles. So you can evaluate, learn, grow. But this multiplicity can also create suffering. When the judging you is too harsh, when the regretting you won't let go, when the worrying you won't be quiet. This is when the default mode network becomes overwhelming. This is when the nighttime mind feels like torture rather than rest. And this is why practices like meditation are so valuable. Because meditation quiets the default mode network. It shifts your brain into a different mode, a mode of present awareness, a mode of being rather than thinking. And in that mode, the multiple versions fade. The internal dialogue quiets. The stories pause. What remains is simply awareness, simply presence, simply being. Not the anxious you, or the confident you, or the sad you, or the happy you. Just you, the awareness itself. This is why meditation can feel so peaceful, so restful. Because for a few moments, you're not creating versions of yourself. You're not simulating futures or reconstructing pasts. You're just here. But even without meditation, understanding the default mode network can help. Because when your mind starts racing at night, when the internal dialogue becomes overwhelming, you can recognize what's happening. Your default mode network is active. It's doing its job, processing, integrating, creating. And you can let it do its work without getting caught in the stories. You can observe the different versions appearing without believing you are only one of them. You can watch the worrying you worry without becoming lost in worry. You can notice the judging you judge without accepting the judgment as truth. You can witness the reflecting you reflect without drowning in rumination. Because you are not any single version, you are the space that holds them all. The default mode network creates versions of you, but you are not those versions. You are the brain that creates them, the awareness that witnesses them, the presence that remains when all the versions fade. This understanding, this recognition, This shift in perspective can transform your relationship with your own mind. You stop fighting with yourself. Stop trying to eliminate parts of yourself. Stop believing there's something wrong with you. Because you recognize this is how minds work. This is how brains function. This is what it means to be human. You are vast, complex, multiple. And that is exactly as it should be. Why this is helpful, not dangerous. You might be wondering, is this healthy? Is it normal to have multiple versions of myself? The answer is yes, absolutely yes. In fact, it is essential. A brain that creates multiple versions of you is a brain that can adapt, that can learn, that can survive. Think about it this way. If you were exactly the same person in every situation, you would struggle. You couldn't be vulnerable with loved ones and also assertive at work. You couldn't be playful with children and also serious in a crisis. You couldn't be open to new ideas and also protective of your values. A single fixed self would be rigid, fragile, limited. But a brain that can create multiple versions can handle complexity. It can be different things in different contexts without losing coherence. This is not fragmentation. This is flexibility. Your brain creates versions of you the way a musician plays different notes. Each note is distinct, but together they create a song. You are not one note, you are the whole song. And the ability to play different notes, to activate different versions, is what makes you resilient. When something goes wrong, when a situation changes, when life surprises you, your brain can shift. It can activate a different version, a different strategy, a different way of being. This is survival. This is adaptation. This is intelligence. And it's not just about survival. It's about growth. Every new experience creates a new version of you. Every challenge you face builds a new pattern in your brain. Every person you meet activates a different aspect of yourself. And over time, you become more complex, more capable, more whole. Not by being one thing, but by being many things. This is why travel changes people, why new experiences matter, why stepping outside your comfort zone helps you grow. Because each new context creates a new version of you, and that version becomes part of your repertoire. A new way of thinking, a new way of feeling, a new way of being. And the more versions you have, the more adaptable you become. So when you notice yourself changing, from moment to moment, from context to context, don't worry. You are not losing yourself. You are expanding yourself. Your brain is doing what healthy brains do, creating, adapting, growing. And this multiplicity, this beautiful complexity, is a sign of a brain that is working well. Not a brain that is broken, not a brain that is confused. A brain that is alive, creative, responsive. And every version of you exists to serve you, to help you, to protect you. The anxious version keeps you safe. The confident version helps you take risks. The compassionate version connects you to others. The analytical version solves problems. The creative version imagines new possibilities. Each version is a tool, a resource, a strength. And you, the awareness behind all of them, have access to all of these tools. You are not stuck being one thing. You have an entire library of selves available to you. And learning to recognize them, to work with them, to appreciate them can transform your life. Because you are not limited, you are vast. Not scattered, not fragmented, vast. Your brain creates multiple versions of you because you are capable of multiple ways of being. And that capacity is one of the most remarkable things about being human. Think about the people you admire most, the ones who seem truly wise, truly mature, truly whole. They are not people who are always the same. They are not people who never change. They are people who can be many things. Strong when strength is needed, gentle when gentleness is needed, fierce when fierceness is needed, soft when softness is needed. They flow between versions of themselves with ease, with grace, with wisdom. They don't fight their multiplicity. They embrace it. They recognize that different situations call for different versions, and they have cultivated access to many versions. This is mastery. This is maturity. This is wholeness. Not being one thing perfectly, but being many things skillfully. And you have this capacity too. You've always had it. Your brain has been creating versions of you since the day you were born. Every time you learned something new, a new version emerged. Every time you faced a challenge, a new version was built. Every time you loved someone, a new version came alive. You are not the same person you were 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, or even yesterday. You are constantly changing, constantly evolving, constantly creating new versions. And this is not loss, this is growth. The versions of you from the past don't disappear. They become part of the foundation. Layers upon layers, building complexity, building depth, building wisdom. And the versions of you in the future are already being created, in simulation, in imagination, in preparation. Your brain is always working, always building, always preparing you for what comes next. And trusting this process, trusting your brain's ability to create what you need when you need it, can bring tremendous peace. Because you don't have to figure everything out right now. You don't have to be the perfect version of yourself in every moment. You just have to be present, aware, open. And your brain will create the versions you need. The version that can handle today's challenges. The version that can enjoy today's pleasures. The version that can learn from today's experiences. Tomorrow, a new version will emerge, informed by today, prepared for tomorrow's unique demands. This is the natural process of a healthy mind. Creating, adapting, growing. Not despite having multiple versions, because of having multiple versions. Your multiplicity is your strength. Your adaptability is your power. Your complexity is your gift. And the more you understand this, the more you appreciate this, the more free you become. Free to be different in different moments. Free to change as you grow. Free to contain multitudes. Because you are not meant to be simple. You are not meant to be one thing. You are meant to be vast, complex, multiple. You are meant to be exactly what you are. A brain creating versions, a consciousness witnessing them, a life unfolding through them. This is not a problem to solve. This is a miracle to appreciate. You are many things, many selves, many possibilities. And all of them, every single one is genuinely, authentically, beautifully you. Gentle closing. As you fall asleep tonight, remember, you are not one thing, you are many things. The mind you carry is vast, flexible, creative. Every version of you has a purpose, a gift, a reason for being. The part that worries is trying to protect you. The part that dreams is trying to inspire you. The part that reflects is trying to understand you. The part that plans is trying to prepare you. The part that remembers is trying to teach you. None of these parts are wrong. None of them are broken. They are all you, working together, in their own way. And you, the awareness that contains them all, are safe. You are not losing yourself when you change. You are finding yourself. In all your complexity, in all your depth, in all your possibility. Your brain is not creating versions of you to confuse you. It is creating versions of you to equip you. For every situation, every challenge, every moment of life. And as you rest tonight, your brain will continue its work. Processing, integrating, creating. Building new versions, updating old ones, preparing you for tomorrow. This is not something to fear. This is something to trust. Your brain knows what it's doing. It has been doing this your entire life. Creating you, recreating you, again and again. And tomorrow, when you wake, you will be slightly different. Because your brain will have worked through the night. Simulating, dreaming, growing. And a new version of you will open your eyes. Ready, capable, alive. So rest now, let your mind do its work. Let the versions come and go. Let the thoughts flow and fade. You don't have to control them. You don't have to manage them. You don't have to fix them. Just let them be. Let them move through you, like waves on an ocean. Each wave is real. Each wave is different, but they are all part of the same ocean. You are the ocean, vast, deep, containing everything. And the waves, the versions, the patterns, they rise and fall within you. None of them are permanent. None of them are the whole truth. None of them are all of you. They are moments, aspects, facets. And together, they create the miracle of your consciousness. The miracle of being alive, being aware, being you. So as you drift toward sleep, know that you are whole. Not because you are simple, but because you are complete. Every version, every aspect, every part. All held together, all moving together, all belonging together. In the vast space of your awareness. You are safe, you are whole, you are enough. And every version of you, every pattern, every possibility, is part of the beautiful, complex, ever-changing miracle of being you. Rest well, sleep deeply, trust completely. Your brain is working, your mind is healing, your self is evolving. And tomorrow, you will meet a new version of yourself. One that has learned from today, one that is ready for tomorrow. One that is still you, still whole, still becoming. This is the gift of a human mind, the gift of a living brain, the gift of being many things, while remaining one being. You are the versions, and you are the space between them. You are the patterns, and you are the awareness witnessing them. You are the stories, and you are the one listening. All of it all at once, forever changing, forever you. Sleep now, dream freely, become gently. Your brain will create what you need. Your mind will find what you seek. Your self will emerge ready for whatever tomorrow brings. You are vast, you are capable, you are loved. By all the versions of you, past, present, future. All of them loving you, supporting you, becoming you. Rest now, all is well, you are home. In yourself, in your mind, in your multiplicity. This is who you are, this is how you work, this is your nature. Multiple, beautiful, whole. Good night.